In the 2020 election in North Carolina, there was one candidate who got more votes than Donald Trump. It was Roy Cooper, the 2020 Democratic candidate for governor. Donald Trump received 2.7 million votes in 2020, winning with less than 50% in North Carolina. And Roy Cooper received 2.8 million votes, winning North Carolina with nearly 52% of the vote. That suggests some number of North Carolina voters voted for both Donald Trump and Democrat Roy Cooper. Roy Cooper is now one of the Democrats' big hopes to turn a North Carolina Senate seat from Republican to Democrat. With retiring North Carolina Republican Senator Thom Tillis leaving office as a sometimes critic of Donald Trump, Roy Cooper is campaigning as a real Democratic opponent of Donald Trump in a state where a new poll shows 56.6% of North Carolina voters disapprove of the job Donald Trump is doing as president, while just 41.5% approve. And so the Trump-endorsed Republican candidate for Senate, Michael Whatley, is endorsed by someone who has the approval of only 41% of North Carolina voters. Here is former Governor Roy Cooper's latest ad in his campaign for Senate.
When you're negotiating with Iran, Mr. President, to what extent are Americans' financial situations motivating you to make a deal?
Not even a little bit. I don't think about Americans' financial situation.
There is no doubt that the war in Iran is contributing to the cost of living. Right now, as things stand, do you support President Trump's ongoing effort in Iran, given that economic impact here at home?
Absolutely.
First, we need to do something about this war in Iran. You've got to focus on what's happening at home. This is an administration that promised that they would deal with high prices on day one. Not only have they not done that, they've made it so much worse.
And joining us now is former Governor Roy Cooper. He is the Democratic nominee for United States Senate in North Carolina. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. Today, Donald Trump spent more time talking in more detail about the reflecting pool in Washington, D.C. than he did on how to end his war in Iran, with absolutely no indication that oil prices or gasoline prices will be coming down anytime soon. And Donald Trump actually tried to tell people that gasoline prices are already down. Are North Carolina voters understanding just how much Donald Trump doesn't seem to understand about their situation?
I know that North Carolina families, many of them are in crisis right now. I've been going across the state for months. I've been on a Make Stuff Cost Less tour, and they had been telling me about their high utilities, their grocery costs. Many of them had to do with these tariffs, their cost of health care, the cost of child care. And then, boom, here comes the war in Iran, and gas prices are more than $1 a gallon. And my opponent, Michael Whatley, is all in on this war. Obviously, it was one that did not have an exit strategy or a strategy going in. But let me tell you, the people in power want to hang on to it, Lawrence. And they already, the Republicans and an outside group have already committed to more than $100 million here in North Carolina, particularly during the last 12 weeks, to try to convince the people of North Carolina, I am someone I am not. We cannot let them buy this race. We have to win North Carolina in order to take back the Senate. And if people want to help us out and see what kind of policy proposals I'm putting out there to bring costs down, they can go to roycooper.com.
Donald Trump said today that he doesn't care about the midterms, meaning he's in no hurry at all to reach a solution in Iran. What did North Carolina voters feel about the urgency of the situation in Iran?
Well, they can't take the gas prices anymore. I know a lot of people are concerned about the foreign policy and the fact that this administration had promised not to get involved in these foreign wars and all of a sudden did it. And they were concerned that this administration promised them that they deal with the cost of living on day one. Not only have they not done that, They've made it so much worse. Then they come out with this slush fund that is going to be paid for by taxpayers that's going to give money to these January 6 rioters. And when you think about what happened on that day and seeing people storming the Capitol and assaulting police officers, man, when I was Attorney General, we used to put those people away, not give them a payout. And my opponent, Michael Whatley, when a number of Republicans have at least run away from this idea, he said, no, I'm all in. You know, that's got to stop. And a lot of people in North Carolina are seeing that and are so frustrated that this administration not only is doing nothing about their cost of living, but it's actually taking actions to hurt the situation with the war in Iran, with the tariffs, with ripping away their health care, with the one big beautiful bill. They've had enough of it. They want a course correction for our country, and we need to step up and make sure we win North Carolina with this Senate race. And as I've told you, Lawrence, North Carolina hasn't elected many Democrats to the Senate. Our last Democrat was 2008. We've only had 2 Democrats elected to the Senate in almost 40 years, and both of them were one term. And oftentimes, even when Democrats have had leads, Republicans have come on at the end because they buy so much TV time. We've got to stand up and make sure that doesn't happen here in North Carolina. We got to take back the Senate.
Roy Cooper, thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Thanks, Lawrence.